You don't need a purer, stronger, or better version of yourself to start living. You don't have to wait for better weather, for luck, or for confirmation that you're allowed to begin. Everything you need is already within you: your thoughts, your decisions, and the small steps you keep denying yourself. A Stoic would say that it's about using what you can control rather than yearning for what is unattainable. If you're constantly turning your head in all directions, waiting for the perfect moment, and constantly telling yourself that you're not ready yet, then the honest truth is, you're wasting the only time that truly belongs to you, this moment now. The place where your feet stand is not a mistake or a failure, it is your starting line, not because it's dreamy or special, but because it is the truth. And the truth is always solid ground if you dare to look it in the eye and accept it. Many people spend their entire lives hoping for a little more time, more comfort, quieter days, more pleasant feelings, or a sign from others. They hope that life will finally become calmer. But this little bit more never comes. While they wait, the days slip by and each one eludes them as a missed opportunity, simply because they believe they need to accumulate more before taking the first real step. A Stoic would remind them that they can only act in the present, not in the future they constantly imagine. The truth is, no one starts with perfectly prepared tasks. Even the strong people you admire began with trembling hands, a restless heart, jumbled thoughts, and many things they lacked. But they started anyway, and now it's up to you to look at yourself. Where do you stand in your own story? Not in your plans, not in your dreams, but right here in this moment, with the mind you have, the strength you still possess, and the opportunities you've put off until now. You may not like your current situation, but you cannot achieve anything better by continuing to refuse to accept your present state of affairs. No explorer can find their way on a map if they ignore their location. No builder can construct a stable house if they pretend their land is elsewhere. You may not enjoy your present circumstances, but you must face them honestly, for acknowledging reality is the first strength upon which a Stoic stands. If you don't do this, you'll keep going in circles, avoiding problems, feeling disappointed, pointing fingers at others, and ultimately feeling powerless. And the unusual thing is, true change never begins externally. It begins within you. It begins with how you see yourself, with that quiet but determined voice that whispers, "This cannot continue, not even for another day." And when you finally dare to look your situation squarely in the eye, without blaming others, without feeling sorry for yourself, without making excuses, you suddenly realize how much untapped energy you have, how many dormant abilities lie dormant, how many opportunities you've missed simply because you waited for life to be perfect. A Stoic would say that waiting for perfect conditions is a trap, because the only thing you can control is how you react to things in the here and now. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to completely transform yourself before taking the first step. You don't have to become a better version of yourself. You don't need applause. You don't even have to feel brave, strong, or absolutely confident. The only thing you truly need is honesty. Honesty about where you are. Honesty about the limitations on your path. Honesty about the habits that keep holding you back. And honesty about that deep, persistent feeling in your chest that tells you you deserve a much better life than the one you're currently living. If you find yourself in the midst of confusion, your job is stagnant, you're emotionally exhausted, your thoughts are racing, that's okay. This is important information. And this information is the material you can use to rebuild yourself. There's no shame in not yet being where you want to be. It is a true loss to remain in a situation simply because one refuses to acknowledge the truth about one's own perspective. Pretending that the present isn't real doesn't make one stronger. A Stoic knows that accepting reality and acting accordingly is what moves one forward. You don't need a perfect plan. A simple first step is enough. Just one step, nothing more. Look at what you have right now. Some free time, a vague idea, a little energy left before bed, an inner voice telling you that change is needed. Don't ignore these things. They are small sparks of life. They are the building blocks from which you can create something solid and lasting if you don't overlook them. Some say wait until it gets easier, but those who wait for all their problems to magically vanish into thin air will never truly begin, because life constantly throws new challenges our way. Today something might be missing. Tomorrow something else might be wrong, but that doesn't mean you should give up. It simply shows that you live in a world that can be harsh, demanding, and full of surprises, yet also full of opportunities to grow. Every day can be a new beginning if you look at it that way. Don't see today as just another page filled with yesterday's mistakes. See it as a blank page on which you can begin writing anew. And that new page will be written with your mindset, your actions, and your decisions. You don't need to know the ending of your story. You only need to know that you can no longer remain stuck in your stagnation. Every great inner transformation begins quietly, with a firm decision whispered in the heart. I will no longer drift aimlessly through life. I will take action, starting now. And here's the truth. Once you accept your true starting point, you'll progress faster because you stop wasting energy on pretense, hiding, shame, or comparing yourself to others. Your entire focus is on one thing: progress. No bragging needed, no grand pronouncements, just you, clear on what you want to achieve and determined not to turn back. I don't need to hear how many times you've fallen. I'm not interested in how many opportunities you've missed, how many friendships you've hurt, or how often you've lost faith in yourself. None of that is more important than the decision you're making right now. This is where your true strength lies, in the here and now with the resources available to you right now. And if you dare to start right there, with honesty, courage, and belief in yourself from the very first step, then nothing can stop you. A Stoic would say the power to begin anew always lies in the present moment, never in the past. Blaming the past for past events is one of the most subtle ways to postpone living life to the fullest. It provides a convenient excuse for not changing, a reason to remain stagnant, and a deceptive, short-lived comfort in the belief that you are not responsible for any of it. But in reality, you are sacrificing your entire future to preserve an old story. The past may hold wounds, mistakes, and painful memories, but it has no power over you unless you relinquish control. No one can build a new future with bricks of bitterness. You are allowed to be hurt, angry, or full of regret. These feelings are part of being human, but you can't move forward if you wear these feelings like medals and expect everyone to understand your path. Understanding is helpful, but even without it, you must keep going. Some think, I was betrayed once, so I can't trust anyone anymore. Others live in the shadow of a broken home, a childhood in poverty, a cold father, or an overly strict mother. What matters now is not the shadow, but the step you take to overcome it. They cling to these old memories and use them to explain why their lives feel so chaotic today. They don't call it blaming others, but rather being honest with themselves. However, on closer inspection, something else becomes clear. It's a way to avoid responsibility, because those who take responsibility must also actively change something. And real change always requires effort, something many talk about endlessly, but rarely actually begin. If someone has hurt you, I don't want to pretend it didn't happen. I'm not saying the person wasn't unfair, but I also can't allow you to continue acting as if you have no power and call that self-awareness. You are not the event that broke you. You are the choices you make after the pain. You are allowed to be sad, but you are also responsible for your own healing. You are allowed to be disappointed, but you are also responsible for ensuring that disappointment doesn't destroy your current strength. Everything begins to change as soon as you stop pointing fingers at others and start looking at yourself. Right now, something very dangerous is happening in many minds. People believe that if their suffering has been deep enough, they no longer have to take responsibility. They think pain gives them the right to snap at others, waste time, wander aimlessly through life, and behave as they please. But pain is never a free pass to hurt yourself again. Pain only becomes useful when you use it as a driving force that makes you stronger. A Stoic would remind you that pain is a teacher, not a master. If you keep replaying the same old story with the same dark undertone, it transforms from a memory into a trap that robs you of your future. You don't need someone to apologize before you start over. You don't need someone to confirm that you've been mistreated. You might never get that confirmation, and if you wait for it before taking action, you'll grow old with a heart full of bitterness. Forgiveness doesn't mean agreeing with what happened. Forgiveness means choosing to no longer let the past control your feelings, your actions, or your future. Forgiveness is an act of self-liberation, not a gift to the person who hurt you. Don't confuse understanding the cause with continuing to live with the consequences. You may recognize that a difficult childhood instilled self-doubt in you, but you can't carry that belief with you forever. When you understand where the hurt came from, you take even greater responsibility for ensuring it no longer controls your life. Knowing the cause of your fear doesn't make you brave. Only action makes you brave, and action begins the moment you stop blaming others. No one is born under perfect conditions. Everyone has their wounds, problems, and weaknesses. The real question isn't where your life began. The real question is whether you allow that beginning to become an insurmountable wall. If you wait for someone else to fix you, you're giving them the key to your own transformation. But they don't care, and they're not obligated to open the door for you. Of only those who can pass through this door can remain outside, surrounded by excuses that sound clever but lead nowhere. Ask yourself, how many years have you spent telling the same story over and over again? How much energy have you used to prove that you were the victim instead of proving that you can get back up? How often have you told yourself that you can't move forward because of them, because of the past, because of life itself? And what has all of this brought you? Delay, exhaustion, a feeling of being lost. If that's true, then it's time to pause, not to change the past, but to prevent it from influencing every decision you make today. You can't be both guilty and free. You have to choose, and if you choose freedom, you have to let go of the reasons that are holding you back. If you want to grow, you have to take responsibility. No one can do that for you. True change doesn't begin when others understand your pain or your story. It begins with a firm promise to yourself. Once you stop making excuses, defending weak decisions, and blaming others for your situation, you take control of your life. You may have been hurt, but you don't have to stay trapped in that feeling. You may have been insecure at one time, but you don't have to repeat old patterns just to prove something. You can start anew without needing anyone else's permission, without everyone having to understand, and without waiting. All it takes is to stop blaming others. Because when you stop blaming others, you regain all the strength that has slipped away from you over the years. And when that power returns to you, you can dare to do things you once thought impossible. Great changes never happen in the past, and no magical moment awaits in the future. Everything that can shape your life lies in this very moment. The moment you breathe, read these words, and ask yourself if you can choose anything else. A Stoic would say that true power resides only in the present moment. What separates you from the person you are now and the life you desire is not time. It's the space between thought and action. Action is the crucial step between someone who merely dreams and someone who is actually evolving. It's not your feelings, not your spark of motivation, not even your long-term plan. It's the one action you choose to take at the moment. The many people spend their days believing they are preparing. They read countless books, listen to endless lectures, and gather vast amounts of information. They make plans, set goals, improve their skills, and analyze risks. Yet despite all this, they make no progress. Deep down, they are waiting for something external, the approval of others, complete self-confidence, or the magical feeling of being perfectly prepared. The sad truth, however, is that this feeling never comes first. It only seems to be temporary after action. People with strong faith don't wait until they feel secure. They forge ahead even when uncertain. Their steps create a confidence that others believe is innate. No one wakes up in the morning perfectly ready to begin something important. The bravest person you know once started with uncertainty. The most confident person you've ever seen took their first step with trembling hands. But they didn't let their feelings hold them back. They acted despite the discomfort, and that gave them a strength you may not yet possess. They learned to deal with mistakes, overcome fears, and persevere. They internalized a lesson that many people still struggle with. Action is stronger than emotions, and courage only grows through practice. True strength doesn't come from knowing all the answers. It comes from choosing to act, even when things aren't clear. Every step you take today, no matter how small, is like laying a brick. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done repeatedly. You might not see results immediately, but what you're building isn't the outer shell, it's the foundation. And every stable building begins with a silent foundation, invisible to everyone, unnoticed by all. Yet it's the only thing that determines whether it will weather the storms. That's why taking action in the present moment, however small, is far more valuable than grand plans that never let you go. A Stoic would say that consistent action is the path to inner stability. How often have you said, "I know I should do that"? How often have you recognized the right decision but failed to make it? How often have you told yourself, "I need to change," and then fallen asleep with a tired sigh? Not because you're useless, not because you don't care, but because you haven't understood how much a small gesture can achieve. You think that if you can't do anything big, it's okay to do nothing. But this way of thinking drains your energy. Think of the countless little moments in everyday life when you could have done the right thing, but simply didn't because you didn't feel like it. You knew you should tidy your desk, drink more water, apologize to someone, reply to that important message, but you let it slide. And every time you skip something small, you not only lose the task itself, but also the chance to develop your character. Taking action doesn't just change the end result. It also changes who you become. Every time you act, even without enthusiasm, you send a powerful message to your mind: "I am someone you can rely on." And from this message grows true self-respect. Self-confidence isn't a magical feeling that suddenly appears on a lucky day. It grows from hundreds, even thousands, of small moments in which you kept your promise. Every time you say the right thing and then act on it, you draw a piece of courage from the future and bring it into the present. Don't underestimate the power of small decisions. A single right action, taken at the very moment you want to avoid it, can completely change your inner direction. It's not just about ticking a task off your list. It breaks the habit of inaction. It doesn't just lead to a result. It awakens the dormant trust within you. And more importantly, it jolts you out of the most dangerous thought of all: "I'll do it later." You don't have to get everything done today. But you do need to do the following. One thing today, not tomorrow, not after you've read this, but now. Anything that brings you closer to the person you want to become. Maybe it's just washing a cup. Maybe it's sitting still for 5 minutes and breathing. Maybe it's writing down 3 things you've been putting off for a month. The first step doesn't have to change the whole world. It just has to change your direction. And if you're still wondering whether a small action can make a difference, think back to the last time you finally tackled something you'd been putting off for ages. How did it feel? Relief, strength, a sense of regaining control. That's the power of taking action in the present moment. It awakens a feeling you thought you'd lost, the feeling of being able to trust yourself again. Real change doesn't come from hasty action or the simultaneous achievement of grand goals. Real change comes from constant repetition, even of small steps, as long as they are performed with care and perseverance. When you repeat a small action many times, your entire life path slowly begins to change. And this path doesn't begin with a big event. It begins right where you are sitting with an honest question: what is the next good thing I can do? No one can walk your path for you. No one can bear the burden of the decisions you keep putting off. No one can dictate your journey, your attitude, or the course of your day. People may have hurt you, confused you, or destroyed something you trusted. But no matter what happened, even if it wasn't your fault, your life is still special. Only you can form. Taking responsibility is not a punishment. It is strength. It is the most stable foundation a person can build if they want to grow, gain freedom, and lead a truly meaningful life, very much in the spirit of the Stoics. Many people behave as if they need permission to change. They wait for their parents to act differently, for their boss to notice them, for their partner to understand them better, or for the world to suddenly become kinder. But the longer they wait, the weaker they feel inside. Because when you give someone else the power to control your life, you also give them your feelings, your energy, and your direction. And everything you don't control will one day exhaust you, disappoint you, and leave you in a dead end. People who take responsibility are not people who have never been hurt. They are people who have faced their pain head-on and said, "I don't want my life to be determined by something I can't change." Perhaps you were born into an unjust world. Perhaps others had opportunities that were denied to you. But if you use that as an excuse not to act, you are robbing yourself of your own future. Many others also had difficult lives, lost a lot and fell hard, but they didn't stay down. They chose to get up, take the reins, and be the main character in their own story, not someone who relives the same sad chapter over and over again. They understood a simple truth: blaming others might feel good in the short term, but it never gets you anywhere. Taking responsibility, even when it's difficult, is the only way to true control. When you start taking responsibility, your reaction to the world changes. You stop saying, "I am the way I am because of everything that happens around me." Instead, ask, "What part did I play in ending up here, and what small step can I take to improve things?" This question is of great importance. It transforms you from a hesitant person to an active one. It prevents you from reacting emotionally and allows you to act purposefully. It dispels the fog of blame and bestows upon you the serenity of creation, a profoundly Stoic strength. And when you start creating instead of complaining, you finally feel your own inner strength returning. Taking responsibility doesn't mean having to do everything alone. It doesn't mean becoming stubborn, never asking for help, or never getting tired. It simply means stopping leaving your life to things outside your control, and instead, with a clear vision and deliberate steps, determining your own direction, step by step. A truly responsible person recognizes when they need support, communicates their boundaries, and decides how to react instead of letting circumstances push them around. They don't run away from problems. They don't remain silent, hoping someone will appear and rescue them. They don't pretend to be strong just to suppress their own truth. They view themselves honestly and act from that honesty, even if the action is small, slow, or unpleasant. The real difference between someone who purposefully pursues their path and someone who constantly feels confused lies in how they explain the problem. Someone who avoids responsibility says, "I'm stressed because of my job, because of other people, because of everything outside of myself." But a responsible person says, "I react to my job with stress. I need to change my boundaries, my habits, and my approach." The same situation, but a completely different approach. One person lets life control them. The other leads themselves. That's the Stoic way. And you have the opportunity to choose it every day, in every moment, and with every decision. You don't need a grand plan for the future to take responsibility. It's enough to look at today and ask yourself, what am I running away from? What task am I putting off even though I know I should do it? What truth am I hiding from because it feels uncomfortable? Responsibility doesn't arise from grand pronouncements. It grows from small moments of courage, honesty with oneself, improving what can be improved, and striving for what is right, even when no one applauds. Don't believe that only successful people are disciplined. It is the discipline that develops slowly through a sense of responsibility that paves the way to success in the first place. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you finish something you set out to do, you lay another stone on your inner foundation, and no one else can build that foundation for you. You can listen to wise teachers, be inspired by eloquent people, read the words of the Stoics, but if you don't act, if you don't take responsibility, all of that remains just noise in your head and never becomes reality. The great thing is, you don't have to wait until tomorrow to lay this foundation. You can start right now with something very simple. Do what you set out to do. No excuses, no stories, no waiting for the perfect mood. If you set out to exercise today, then exercise. If you wrote down to call someone and apologize, then call. If you know exactly what's pulling you off course, then face it. Every time you fulfill a promise to yourself, even if nobody knows about it, even if there is no reward, you strengthen something more valuable than anything else, your own self-respect. Self-respect doesn't come from how others see you. It comes from being able to look in the mirror without averting your gaze from yourself. It stems from the quiet feeling of living on the right path, not perfectly, not without flaws, but with genuine responsibility for every decision, every action, and every step. And those who possess strong self-esteem are not so easily thrown off course. They remain steadfast, not because life is lenient with them, but because they no longer run from their own truth. The truth doesn't have to be beautiful to be important. It just has to be real. And often the truth is the one we least want to admit. You're not as good as you pretend to be. You've put things off for too long. You're repeating old habits, old reactions, and old decisions that disappoint you. Deep down, you know this, but you don't want to say it out loud. You keep distracting yourself with excuses that sound clever. You comfort yourself with the thought, everyone does it. You wait until you feel better before confronting the real problem. But the more you avoid it, the bigger it becomes and the more it eats away at you. True growth doesn't begin with self-confidence. It begins with the courage to face an uncomfortable truth without sugarcoating it with pretty stories. You may be clever. You may have done good deeds. You may know exactly what's right. But if you refuse to admit that your current behavior doesn't align with what you know is necessary, then your knowledge is like a fancy decoration, beautiful to look at, but useless in real life. Who you are doesn't depend on your knowledge. It depends on what you're honest enough to confront and what you have the courage to improve upon. That's why real change doesn't begin with motivation, but with the truth. Not a perfect truth, but a brutally honest truth that doesn't conform to the image you've constructed of yourself. Have you ever said you didn't have time and then spent hours scrolling on your phone at night? Have you ever said you longed for peace but stayed in harmful friendships because you were afraid of being alone? Have you ever said you would try when in reality you avoided effort because you were afraid of failure? You don't have to answer these questions for me. You just have to answer them for yourself. And if these questions hurt, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means your honest inner self wants to be heard. The truth may hurt in the moment, but pretense hurts for a lifetime. You can ignore the truth if you want, but the price is a life that never reaches its full potential. You will remain trapped in a cycle where everything is almost good, almost sufficient, almost possible, but never complete. And you will feel this quiet, underlying sadness that permeates your decisions. I could have been different. This is the regret that grows every time one avoids having to face the situation. Admitting the truth doesn't destroy your worth. On the contrary, it restores your self-esteem. It's undermined every time you say tomorrow but never take action, every time you feign strength while feeling empty inside, every time you repeat the same mistake and convince yourself it's okay. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to be honest. You don't have to know every answer, solve every problem, or impress anyone. But one must be honest enough to say, this is where my mistake lies. This habit is detrimental to me. It's causing me to miss my own goals. To say this simply, plainly, and without pretense is the beginning of a true life. Look around you. How many people live only to maintain an image of themselves, the image they want others to project? How many smile even though they're empty inside? How many are exhausted but still answer, "I'm fine"? And more importantly, how often have you already done that? Those who conceal the truth also make it harder for those around them to speak their truth. They contribute to creating a world full of masks, where everyone appears strong on the outside, but almost no one finds inner peace. But if you decide to be the first to drop this mask, to be the first to say, "I'm tired, I'm confused, I need to change," you create a space where true kindness and genuine understanding can finally flourish. True enlightenment doesn't come from pretense. True healing doesn't begin with lies. You must endure discomfort, embarrassment, and even shame to arrive at the truth. And once you reach it, you must face it as you would an old friend, without running away, without arguing, without playing hide and seek. Only when you see yourself clearly and authentically will you know where your path must begin. Herein lies your true strength, the strength to effect change from within, not through external means. Don't wait for a catastrophe to admit that you've been living far removed from your own values. Don't wait until everything collapses before you say, "I went in the wrong direction." You can now begin with a quiet but important truth. I haven't lived the way I think is right. They don't need applause. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. You simply have to decide that from this moment on, every step you take will be characterized by honesty and not by pretense. And if anyone ever asks you, when did your life begin to change? You can reply, the day I stopped pretending everything was okay. At this moment, everything really begins to change. You will not need any additional motivation. You will not need any more inspirational speeches. For once the truth is finally recognized, the mind becomes clear. You stop wasting energy on auditions. And what remains is simple: consistent action, clear decisions, and a strength that surpasses anything you have ever felt before. If you always wait for motivation to come before you start, you will forever remain stagnant, because motivation comes all by itself. Not motivation has to develop before you can take action. It doesn't appear like a friendly visitor who knocks on the door and says, "Hey, wake up, I'm here to help you achieve something great today." Motivation is something that comes after you move, not before. It's something you achieve through action, not something you have to start with. This idea might sound strange at first, but it frees you from the mental trap most people fall into. So many wait for inspiration, for enthusiasm, for feeling ready. But life doesn't wait for your feelings. Life responds to your steps, not your desires. It simply explains your behavior. Many people follow the same old pattern. I'll start when I'm motivated. But where does this magical motivation come from? It arises from successes, from even the smallest step, from the realization of having completed something important. Without steps, you don't move forward. Without progress, there's no motivation. Without motivation, you do nothing. And so you remain stuck in a seemingly harmless cycle that paralyzes you. You tell yourself, I'm waiting for the right moment. But in reality, you're waiting to feel comfortable enough to begin. And unfortunately, this feeling of well-being almost never arrives at the perfect time. We imagine other people act because they possess a special passion, because they are naturally strong, or because they are fortunate enough to be inspired every morning. But on closer inspection, something else becomes apparent. They act first and feel later. They don't let their feelings control them. Instead, they allow their feelings to guide their behavior, a very Stoic way of life. They know that every day can be a lazy, slow day, a day when they simply don't want to do anything. But instead of giving in to these feelings, they choose a small movement to break the silence. And this tiny movement, however small, opens a path forward. You might not believe it, but I too have days when I don't feel like writing, exercising, answering messages, or doing anything worthwhile at all. In those moments, I don't wait for motivation to magically fall into my lap. I start with a tiny action, something so simple I can't make excuses. I open my notebook and write a single sentence. I put on my workout clothes and set a 5-minute timer. That's it. But as soon as my body starts moving, my mind slowly follows. And after 5 minutes, I find myself continuing. Not because I'm suddenly overcome by motivation, but because I'm letting my feelings guide my actions instead of letting them hold me back. If you truly want to transform your life, you need to rewrite the old story you keep telling yourself. This old story says, wait until the timing seems perfect, until the perfect inspiration strikes, until your feelings align with your goals. But you can develop a clearer, more Stoic script. I will act even when I don't feel motivated, because action creates motivation, not the other way around. With this new script, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be extraordinary. You just have to begin. And as soon as you begin, things start to change, not in the external world, but within you, in how you see yourself. Why is this important? Because true self-confidence doesn't come from the thoughts you wish you believed in it. It arises from observing how you act, even when no one is forcing you to do so. That's precisely where true self-confidence begins. Every time you act without waiting for motivation, you develop a rare strength, self-control. True self-control isn't about suppressing your feelings, but about learning not to let them stop you from doing the right thing. How you feel is less important than your decision. With that decision, you begin to take control of your life. Imagine looking at a to-do list and waiting for motivation to strike before you even tackle one of them. You might wait for hours, days, or even years. During all that waiting, you not only miss opportunities, but also lose confidence in your own ability to follow through. But when you act, even when you're lazy, tired, or bored, you're telling yourself, I can count on myself. If you repeat this decision day after day, it will become the inner foundation of all your goals. You don't need motivation to begin. You need a simple system, a clear plan, a place to help you stay focused, a promise to yourself, and above all, the firm resolve to see it through, even when your feelings aren't on your side. This path isn't easy, but it's more valuable than almost anything else, because when you stop letting your emotions guide you, you're no longer so easily pushed around. You'll no longer be controlled by laziness, endless scrolling, stressful headlines, or feelings of inadequacy. You set the pace of your own life with discipline, with a routine, with consistent commitment. Motivation might help you the first time, but only consistent action will lead to a strong body, inner peace, and a truly meaningful life. Don't wait for your feelings to guide you in making the right decision. Make the right decision first and let your feelings come later. Start with the smallest thing you've been avoiding. Even taking just one tiny step will put you further ahead than many others still waiting for the perfect moment. Remember, you don't have to feel ready to begin. You just have to begin, and everything you've hoped for will come your way. Helplessness doesn't define you. It's just a temporary state. And the good news is, This state can be overcome with one small action. You don't need to take a giant leap. You don't have to change your entire life overnight. One small, clear task that takes just a few minutes is enough to silence the thought, "I can't do this." The feeling of powerlessness doesn't come from real life. It arises from the constant repetition of long periods in which nothing changes. The less you act, the more you believe that change is impossible. And it's this belief, not the situation itself, that's holding you back. When you feel stuck, it's rarely the outside world that stopped. It's your inner self, your energy, your drive, your direction, that's blocked, entangled in doubt and unfinished plans. And the only way to free that inner flow is not to think more, but to act now. You don't have to wait for the perfect reason. You don't have to wait until everything is ideal. Just do one thing that takes 5 minutes. Wipe your table, fold a shirt, wash a plate, write a single sentence, tidy up a small corner you've ignored for days. Don't consider these small actions useless. They're important because what you're trying to fix isn't the outside world, it's your confidence in yourself. The feeling of "I can't do anything" is just a shadow kept alive by constant procrastination. With each day you do nothing, the feeling of stagnation intensifies. A Stoic would say that an unused ability atrophies like a muscle, but one small conscious action, however tiny, can break this cycle. The moment you get up and decide to do something specific, you send a message through your entire body and mind. You are saying, "I am not powerless. I take responsibility." And your brain, which is constantly updating itself based on your behavior, responds with a new kind of energy. The heavy, frozen feeling slowly fades, and a new signal arises. "I am capable of doing that." This change forms the basis for rebuilding your entire inner world. You don't have to change your whole life today. The Stoics reminded themselves of this daily. Focus on what you can control, and what you now have in your own hands is your action. An action that shows you haven't given up on yourself. When you write a coherent sentence after many chaotic days, you prove to yourself that your mind still works. When you finally answer that old email, you prove to yourself that you can still make decisions. When you take just 10 minutes for a walk in the fresh air, you prove to yourself that you can change your surroundings, your thoughts, and even your heartbeat. These simple actions contain a quiet but powerful truth. I will continue to make my own decisions about my life. Many people feel helpless because they believe only great deeds can bring about change. But the Stoics knew that the desire for great change often brings with it fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being enough, fear of disappointing others. Great deeds create pressure and high expectations. Small deeds do not. Small deeds provide security. They can be carried out immediately. And when you accomplish them, you create something the Stoics greatly valued: dynamics of the will, the feeling that your inner strength is progressing. Once you've got the momentum, you're no longer fighting to even begin. You're simply focused on maintaining that pace. True strength isn't measured by great successes. True strength lies in choosing the right beginning, and the beginning is almost always small. When you perform a simple action with full attention, not rushing, not escaping, but simply completing the task, you create inner space. In this space, there is no blame, no waiting for the perfect moment. There is only clear action and clear results. This kind of simplicity frees you from the jumbled thoughts in your head. It breaks through fear and gives you back your sense of control. If you've ever been so exhausted that getting out of bed seemed impossible, you understand this all too well. But when you do get up, wash your face, put on clean clothes, and fold your blanket, even these small movements change your inner state. You are no longer the person lying in the dark. You become the person who has chosen to step into the light. The real difference lies not in the world around you, but in your consciousness. I acted in my own best interest today. If you maintain this awareness through small actions in everyday life, you will subtly shape a different version of yourself in just a few weeks. Feelings of helplessness don't always require grand pronouncements or lengthy therapy sessions. Sometimes they simply need to be challenged, and you can do that yourself. No applause needed, no audience, no grand announcement. Simply do the right thing whenever the opportunity arises. Every time you do this, you strengthen your relationship with yourself, a relationship where your words align with your actions, where you trust your own decisions, and where you live what you believe in. If you feel uncertain or paralyzed, Choose the smallest task you can complete in 5 minutes and focus on it completely. Not to rush it, but to be fully present, as if this one task were your whole world for those 5 minutes. Because in that moment, it truly is. The more you act this way, the less you depend on motivation to tackle bigger things. Motivation is no longer something you chase. It arises naturally from your actions. You no longer wait for inspiration because you become your own source. Not everyone can accomplish great things, but everyone can achieve something small with a strong, clear, and stoic mindset. And that's enough to change everything. And if you continue like this, one small action at a time, you will slowly notice something important. You are no longer a prisoner of your moods or the circumstances around you. You are not waiting for the world to change on its own. Instead, you are shaping your world, step by step, minute by minute. A Stoic would say that strength comes from action, not theory, and it is your repeated, quiet, and consistent actions that dissolve helplessness in a way no inspirational quote ever could. You prove your strength through reality, through effort, through yourself. You don't have to turn your whole life upside down overnight. It's enough to tackle the next, clearest, and most achievable task, even if it seems small or insignificant. Life doesn't require you to turn everything upside down just to show you're serious. It only requires you not to remain stuck in a rut, because every movement, however small, is more effective than a huge plan that you keep postponing. If you look closer, you'll realize that the things you desire, clarity, confidence, progress, lie hidden in small actions you could take immediately but keep putting off. We underestimate small steps because they seem too easy. Yet every great success grows from a series of tiny efforts, repeated daily like seeds being planted. The feeling of not improving doesn't stem from a lack of progress. It arises from not giving small steps enough appreciation to consistently execute them. A small task completed with full attention can be the quiet turning point that frees you from stagnation. You don't have to finish writing an entire book today, but you can write a few sentences or jot down a vague idea. You don't have to completely overhaul your lifestyle, but you can drink water, stretch a little, or go to bed half an hour earlier. You don't have to change to be valuable, but you can choose a behavior today that gives you more self-respect. For example, saying no to something that drains you. These small gestures may seem mundane, but they are like threads connecting you to a better self, a self waiting to be awakened by you. Small actions help you break a much larger pattern, the pattern of breaking promises to yourself. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," and then don't, the trust between you and yourself erodes. But every time you take action, even in a quiet, simple way, you restore that trust. You rebuild your self-esteem layer by layer. No one else can give you that feeling. It comes from the alignment between what you think, what you say, and what you actually do. The problem isn't that you haven't accomplished anything great. The problem is that you keep ignoring the little things. You tell yourself, "I'll start when I have more time, when things calm down, when I finally feel ready." But how long have you been waiting? And while you wait, you gradually accept a weaker, isolated version of yourself, simply because you didn't start with what was available to you. You can tidy up a drawer. You can delete junk data from your phone. You can send a simple apology message. You can unfollow an account that makes you feel inferior. You can sit silently for 5 minutes and write down 3 worries. You can stand up, take a deep breath, and walk around the room. None of these measures require perfect conditions. They require only one thing: your determination not to waste today in helplessness. When you take action, you regain control of your life. You no longer let yourself be pushed around by moods, your surroundings, or old memories. You take charge of your life again. You intervene directly in your life and change a small detail. And from this small change, a new horizon opens up to you. A simple task doesn't just change your day, it changes how you see yourself. Every time you consciously choose to behave in a certain way, you declare internally, "I am someone who takes action," not just someone who thinks about acting. And if you reinforce this message daily, it will shape how you face challenges, how you overcome difficulties, and how you get back up after setbacks. Don't strive for perfection. Do the next best thing you can. That is where your true strength lies. Nobody expects you to change the whole world, and the Stoics would say you shouldn't expect that of yourself either. What you may anticipation means not letting a single day pass unused. Even the smallest step counts. If you skip today because it seems unimportant, you'll wake up tomorrow with nothing prepared, no solid ground beneath your feet, and the mountain will seem even steeper. And if you wait for motivation to suddenly appear, you'll find that it rarely strikes those who remain inactive. It usually manifests in those who take the first action, even with the smallest, almost banal steps. While you dream big, someone else quietly and efficiently completes the next small task. Complete the small tasks as if they were your most important jobs, because often they are, or it's precisely the things you've been avoiding that are secretly draining you day after day. Sometimes a single simple action, tidying up a corner, writing a message, finishing a page, is enough to recharge your energy. It gives you momentum, a spark of clarity, and the feeling of moving forward again instead of sinking. And once you've accomplished that one thing, you'll realize you can tackle the next and then another. Slowly, you'll transform from the thought, "I can't," to the realization, "I can." That's how Stoics grow, not through grand pronouncements, but through steady steps. Real change isn't loud. It doesn't begin with grand speeches or gigantic goals. It begins quietly, by sitting down, taking a deep breath, and refusing to waste another day. You don't have to change your entire life right now. It's enough to save a small part of it, the part that's within your reach today. That small effort is the beginning of strength. If you're still waiting for a sign to begin, take this as your sign. Choose the smallest task you can do right now and do it. Don't do it to impress anyone. Don't do it to prove anything. Do it to remind yourself that you are still in control of your life. Sometimes a single small action is enough to change your entire life path. Not everything needs an audience. Not everything needs applause. There are actions that only you need to see, that's enough. There are results that never need to be published or shown. They only need to exist within you. When you keep a promise to yourself, that quiet feeling is a reward stronger than likes or comments. You don't have to play a role for the world. Live as a human being with true strength, true depth, true discipline, and an honest connection to yourself. Sometimes that begins with completing something in silence, without sharing it, without announcing it, without waiting for recognition. You don't have to tell the whole world that you're changing. The Stoics would say, the most important thing is that, you know what? Real change doesn't make a sound. It happens in the morning when you wake up and start working without telling anyone. It happens in the pages you complete without posting a picture. It happens in the workouts you do without documenting a single second of them. It happens in the quiet moments when you refuse to procrastinate, simply because you promised yourself you would. These small, inconspicuous, and unsung moments shape the person you become. We live in a world that constantly demands proof, images, and recognition, but your inner self, the part that holds your courage and character, doesn't need any of that. Discipline is only appropriate when someone is watching you. If you only complete tasks to receive a reward, you haven't developed true self-respect. True discipline means doing the right thing, even if no one will ever know. And self-respect begins the moment you choose that path. It begins when you decide to be trustworthy. You don't have to publicize your successes to make them real. Success has value in the moment of its completion. True fulfillment lies in quiet reflection. I promised myself I would, and I kept that promise. It doesn't need applause. It just needs to be lived honestly. And when you begin to live by this simple Stoic rule, I do the right thing because it is right, you will notice something extraordinary. Your life will become easier, your mind will become calmer, and your days will feel like they belong to you again. You will gradually stop worrying about what others think of you. You will no longer crave applause. You will no longer feel the need to hear praise or receive confirmation of your achievements. Why? Because you already possess the strongest recognition imaginable, the recognition of your own conscience. Think back to the times you posted something online just to get a reaction. Maybe you received a few likes, comments, or kind words. But did that feeling last? Or did it quickly disappear, leaving you with an emptiness and the debilitating pressure to constantly perform? Every time you do something simply to attract attention, you surrender your self-worth to others. You allow their reactions to dictate your feelings, But every time you do something quietly and unobtrusively, simply because you know it's the right thing to do, you reclaim your life. The Stoics call this returning to your inner center. You free yourself from the need for others' approval and become someone guided by inner strength. Relying on recognition is dangerous because it slowly takes you away from your true goal. You start writing not to express the truth, but to impress strangers. You begin exercising not to develop discipline, but to show off. You read books not to learn deeply, but to post a photo that makes you appear wise. If you live like this for too long, you forget why you started in the first place. Motivation fades and is replaced by an insatiable craving for attention. Actions that aren't publicized are the purest actions. They need no audience, no special lighting, no filters, no perfect angles. It's only about you, how you make a clear decision, take a real step and experience a real result. This becomes the solid foundation for a life you don't need to advertise, a life full of meaning, because you kept your promise. You're proud of it, not because the world sees you, but because you can say, I did what I promised. And remember, not posting isn't the same as hiding. It's a conscious decision. It's a way of saying, I'm doing the right thing because it's right. Think of the roots of a tree. No one sees them. They're never in photos. But they're what keep the tree upright in wind and rain. They support it when storms come. Every quiet action you perform is like a root. Every time you work without announcing it, you plant another root deeper in the earth. These roots form the foundation for self-control, perseverance, and true self-confidence. Others may never notice. They may never understand how much effort you invest. But of knowing that. And that knowledge is worth more than any applause. Some deeds remain hidden forever. Some disciplines you will cultivate in silence. Some battles and victories remain private chapters of your personal story. These are your true treasures. Because when the attention fades, when the screens go dark and no one is watching, only the question remains, did I keep my promise? Every quiet act should be a building block for your strong self. Every task you complete without praise should be proof of your dignity, your awareness, and your self-respect. The truth is simple. True value doesn't come from what you show the world. It comes from the things you don't have to show, but do anyway. Discipline isn't something that comes easily. It develops slowly, day by day, through small but consistent successes. Every time you overcome procrastination, you become stronger. Every time you keep even the smallest promise to yourself, you train your mind to stay consistent. Discipline isn't a loud explosion of motivation. It's a quiet, steady flame that burns because you feed it through consistent action. Here's a truth that remains hidden to many. Successful people aren't just those who accomplish great and impressive things. They're the ones who never refuse to do the small things, especially when no one is watching. Behind every admirable achievement lie countless days of effort, patience, doubt, and perseverance. One might think that small tasks are unimportant, that they wouldn't change one's life. But it is precisely these small tasks that form habits, and habits over time shape character. And character, more than anything else, determines who one becomes in life. A good habit doesn't spring from nothing or from a sudden burst of willpower. It grows slowly through the constant repetition of small actions, just as a tree quietly thrives on daily drops of water. And a bad habit develops in the same way, through small decisions repeated until they become routine. That's why the first step to building discipline is to appreciate small successes and consciously create them. These small successes, even if they seem almost too simple, strengthen the habits that shape your life. Think back to those times when you resolved to change and then fell back into old patterns. Most of these failures didn't happen due to a lack of strength or intelligence. They happened because you set the bar too high, too far, and too fast. You wanted to change your entire life overnight. Then came the feeling of being overwhelmed, followed by frustration, and finally, the familiar voice of self-recrimination whispering that you had failed again. You felt weak, defeated, and ultimately you gave up. But when you focus on a small, realistic, and concrete action, something you can do today, you make change possible. Get up 10 minutes earlier, drink enough water, write a page in your journal. These aren't great achievements, but they are achievable. And because they are achievable, they give you something priceless: self-confidence. They help you feel alive again. With each small action you complete, you're telling your mind, I can do this. and your mind begins to believe you. Every small task becomes a mental victory. These successes not only motivate you to keep going, they also change your perspective on yourself. You no longer see yourself as someone who gives up or hesitates. You begin to see yourself as someone who possesses self-control and can shape their own life. Gradually, you become someone you trust. Not someone driven by mood swings, excuses, or procrastination, but someone who acts purposefully. From a Stoic perspective, discipline is not a sudden flash of inspiration. It is a quiet, long-term promise to oneself. It grows from honesty, the kind of honesty where you say, "I will do this," no matter how small, how unpleasant, or whether anyone is watching, and then follow through. This honesty forms the foundation for all further success. Those who keep their word in small matters will naturally be capable of doing so in larger ones as well. And although discipline begins within yourself, you don't have to walk this path alone. You can create a supportive environment. You can develop habits that make it easier to stay on track. You can surround yourself with people who encourage you instead of draining you. Sharing small successes with friends, siblings, or your partner can boost motivation and a sense of responsibility. But true strength always comes from within, from the quiet decision to persevere even when no one is watching. Remember, every success, no matter how small, counts. Discipline doesn't grow in grand, dramatic moments, but in the simple decisions to persevere. When you keep going, even if progress is slow, when you take a step, however small. Over time, these small decisions unleash incredible power. They give you strength you never knew you had. They help you overcome challenges you once thought impossible. Discipline is also a form of self-love, a consistent, practical kind of love. When you keep your promises to yourself, you show that you value your own life. You show that you deserve responsibility and respect from yourself. This fundamentally changes your self-perception. A disciplined person isn't just someone who achieves a lot. A disciplined person is someone who knows how to take care of themselves, protect themselves, and develop in a stable and meaningful way. Never underestimate the importance of patience in building discipline. No habit is formed overnight. No change happens overnight. Every day, every week, every month filled with small successes becomes a building block for a strong foundation. Without this foundation, every life you build will crumble, but with it, you can achieve anything. So start today with the smallest action you can take. Don't let perfectionism hold you back. Don't let overwhelming goals paralyze you. The first step, even the smallest, is the most important. It's the beginning of discipline, self-confidence, and inner strength. You don't have to change overnight. You just have to become the person who keeps a promise every day, slowly, gently, and steadily. And everything else follows from that. Self-confidence doesn't come from sudden success or great achievements that bring praise. It comes from consistent effort, from being present time and time again, from the quiet perseverance that almost no one sees, but you know it, and this quiet, unwavering belief becomes a force that can carry you through anything. It's not the ultimate reward that makes you strong. It's the path you walk each day, the path where you repeatedly choose not to give up. Many wait for results before they believe. They think belief comes only after success, as if self-confidence only appears when the world finally acknowledges their efforts. But this mindset keeps them trapped in a labyrinth of waiting, confusion, and doubt. They constantly seek proof before acting, and as a result, they never develop the necessary strength to move forward. Many people believe that self-confidence only comes after great successes. They think, "I'll trust myself when I've made it." But the opposite is true. Without self-confidence at the beginning, you lack the perseverance to stick with it long enough to achieve success. Self-confidence doesn't come on its own. After victory, it creates victory. It grows quietly in the moments when you get back up after a setback, when you keep working, even when doubts whisper in your ear. In Stoic thought, faith is not a gift, but a practice. Faith begins with action. Every time you repeat a habit or make a good decision, no matter how small, you send a powerful message to your mind: I can rely on myself. When you keep a promise to yourself without anyone watching, without applause, without reward, you lay another cornerstone for your self-confidence. And this foundation carries you through times when results remain invisible, progress is slow, and everything seems uncertain. You've surely experienced days when self-doubt was overwhelming. You asked yourself, Am I on the right track? Is this effort worthwhile? Will I be able to persevere? These questions are normal. They arise in every developmental process. But if you stop because of them, you miss the only opportunity to develop genuine trust. The only way to gain self-confidence is to move forward, even when you feel uncertain. The Stoics teach that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. And that is precisely where true trust springs from. Faith cannot be bought, read about, or received from others. It grows slowly, shaped by patience, honesty, and daily effort. Faith means choosing to work, even when no one praises you. Faith means leaving your comfort zone, even when you're afraid. Faith means taking responsibility for your mistakes, learning from them and not blaming yourself. Every time you look back and realize that it was your own effort, not the result, that sustained you, you strengthen that faith anew. The results may take time to materialize. They may turn out differently than expected. But those who give up will never know what might have been. The strongest conviction is not the euphoria of success, but the calm certainty that no matter how many times you fall, you can always get back up and keep going. Once you have firmly internalized this truth, you will be capable of things you once considered unattainable. The crucial point is that you don't let results dictate your feelings or decisions. If you only believe in yourself when you succeed, failure will destroy you. But if your belief arises from the process itself, from your effort, patience, and discipline, then failure becomes your teacher, not your enemy. Every step, even the smallest, becomes a victory. The difference lies in what you base your faith on, results or effort. When you finally understand that faith grows through consistent effort, you begin to see setbacks and challenges differently. You no longer fear them, but accept them as necessary tools for your growth. You don't give up just because no progress was made today. You don't panic when you stumble, because you know that one mistake doesn't erase the journey you've already undertaken. Faith also grows when you improve every day through learning, practicing, and trying again. Each day becomes a message you send to your own mind. I can be better than I was yesterday. With enough repetition, faith becomes something natural within you. It no longer needs praise, attention, or encouragement from the outside. It becomes a silent fire that continues to burn, no matter what storms you face. You will remain steadfast in times of change and challenge, not because you are fearless, but because you know you have developed an inner strength strong enough to persevere. Ultimately, faith is a gift you give yourself with every decision you make, even when everything seems to be against you. It is your way of saying, I shape my own life. I don't let myself be controlled by circumstances or feelings. Faith gives you the strength to continue writing your story, even if you don't yet know how the final chapter ends. And if you allow yourself to build faith through repeated effort, consistent action, and quiet courage, you will become unstoppable. The resilient, steadfast, and self-confident person, the one who transcends their limitations, doesn't emerge by waiting for the right feeling. No significant person has ever achieved success by sitting idly by, hoping that motivation would magically knock on their door. Waiting for the perfect feeling is one of the biggest traps of procrastination. It's like building a wall around yourself that prevents you from developing your own inner strength. You might think that if your mood is bad, your energy is low, or your circumstances are chaotic, today isn't a good day for a fresh start. But life doesn't wait until everything is perfect. It moves on whether you like it or not. And the longer you wait for perfect conditions, the wider the gap becomes between where you are now and where you want to go. Procrastination breeds fear and doubt, gradually making you believe you're weaker than you are. In reality, there's no such thing as perfect preparation. It's just an ideal you'll never fully achieve. You don't need to be brave, confident, or inspired to begin. You simply need to act with what you have right now. In Stoic philosophy, only your decision belongs to you, your ability to determine your next step. Action is the bridge that leads you from hesitation to progress, from confusion to clarity, and only when you take that first step does your world begin to change. Many people believe that motivation precedes action. They wait until they feel ready, but feelings are fickle and change daily like the weather. The Stoics taught that feelings should not dictate life. Rather, they should be observed, understood, and if they stand in the way of duty, gently ignored. One does not act because one feels ready, but because it is the right thing to do. And paradoxically, mind and body awaken the moment one takes action. Confidence arises, energy grows. Motivation follows action, not precedes it. Think back to the last time you finally dared to do something you'd been avoiding for a long time. At first, you probably didn't feel like it. Maybe you were bored, tired, or even afraid. But as soon as you started, even with the tiniest step, your feelings slowly began to change. The fear subsided, the boredom disappeared, and in its place came a sense of progress, a small spark of pride. That's the quiet power of action. It doesn't just change your external life, it changes your internal sense of self. Feelings follow action, it always has. Consciously choosing not to wait for good feelings also means not letting your emotions control you. You no longer allow fear, laziness, or discouragement to take the reins. The Stoics knew that feelings come and go like clouds, but time doesn't return once it's gone. Every moment wasted costs you a part of your future. Every missed opportunity carries the potential for later regret. Imagine two people. One waits indefinitely for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect conditions. The other acts as soon as they can, even if their hands are trembling. The first falls behind and misses opportunities that will never come again. The second gains momentum, learns faster, recovers more quickly, and ultimately achieves results. Even with imperfect steps, life doesn't reward those who wait endlessly. It rewards those who use what they have, even if it's little. Acting quickly doesn't mean being reckless or thoughtless. On the contrary, it demonstrates wisdom. It shows that you've grasped the Stoic truth. You can't control everything around you, but you can make your decisions in this moment. And it's precisely in this moment, now, that all change begins. Consistency is also important. Acting promptly helps maintain momentum, preventing mental inertia and emotional strain. By cultivating the habit of acting at the right moment, you teach your mind a crucial lesson. I'm in control of my life. Not fear, not excuses, just yourself. This habit grows stronger with repetition. It becomes second nature. It shapes your character. And gradually it defeats the greatest enemies of progress, hesitation and fear. Remember, starting immediately doesn't mean exhausting yourself. Even the Stoics valued peace, serenity and reflection. Activity and rest must be balanced. It's not perfection that counts, but the direction. One step is enough. A small action today is more important than 100 perfect plans you never implement. This idea can be applied to all areas of life: tidying your room, sending that long postponed message, writing a few lines, completing a small task at the office, or apologizing to someone you've hurt. Every small action is a chance to shape your character. Every simple task is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you determine your own path and not your feelings. Action is your power, and using that power, even in small ways, can change your entire life. These small actions, so tiny they seem almost insignificant, can completely change your mindset if you perform them immediately. They remind you that you can still act, still make decisions, still take control of your life. They are like a message to yourself. I am not powerless. I determine my own path. The Stoics believed that control begins with one's own decisions, not with one's emotions, and that every swift action proves that one takes control of one's life and does not wait for life to lead one. Remember this: the difference between people who grow and those who stagnate isn't talent or luck, it's their attitude toward action. Successful people know there's no perfect moment, no magical feeling that suddenly makes everything easy. That's why they start, even when the sky is cloudy, even when their heart is heavy. They know that the first step doesn't have to be big, fast, or impressive. It just has to be there. Those who take that small step will always be one step ahead of those who wait for the perfect one. When you train yourself to act as quickly as possible, you open doors that once seemed unreachable. The truth, however painful it may be, is the only true starting point for change. Lying to yourself is like living behind a mask. At first, the mask feels safe, but over time it becomes heavy, confusing, and exhausting. The truth may hurt, shame you, and disappoint you with your decisions, but avoiding it keeps you trapped in darkness. It leaves wounds open, allows mistakes to be repeated, and lets years pass without you truly moving forward. Being honest with yourself means having the courage to acknowledge the most difficult aspects of your personality. Perhaps you've avoided responsibility, lost sight of your goals, or caused harm through decisions you now regret. This doesn't break you. It makes you human. Clearly recognizing your weaknesses isn't a failure, but a sign of maturity. Only when you know where you stand can you decide which path you want to take. Honesty also means not comforting yourself with excuses that sound harmless, but secretly hold you back. I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'm not ready yet. I'll start when it's quieter. These statements seem harmless, but they protect you from unpleasantness while simultaneously preventing you from moving forward. As soon as you recognize them as empty excuses, you free yourself. You stop fooling yourself. You can breathe again. Facing the truth means accepting that real change is neither gentle nor easy. It requires effort, patience, and a willingness to endure discomfort. You don't face the truth because you're perfect. You face it because you want to improve. The truth may reveal your weaknesses, but it also shows you your path. It tells you exactly where to begin. Many fail not because they are incapable, but because they lack the courage to admit what needs improvement. They live in daydreams, hoping that life will improve on its own without any effort. Hope without action is nothing more than a silent waste of time. The truth, even the harshest, acts like a compass. It always points you in the right direction. Being honest with yourself also frees you from an invisible burden. If you hide the truth, you constantly have to pretend, defend yourself, and maintain a story that doesn't correspond to reality. This robs you of energy and inner peace. But when you speak the truth to yourself, even if only quietly, you free yourself from this burden. You allow yourself to be human, to make mistakes, to start over, to learn slowly. Truth also creates genuine relationships. If you're not honest with yourself, honesty with others becomes nearly impossible. Anything based on lies offers no support when life gets tough. But those who live authentically cultivate trust. And with trust, a true connection is formed. A connection that empowers instead of draining. Honesty with oneself, however, is not cruelty. It doesn't mean yelling at oneself or harshly judging oneself. True honesty is gentle. It is compassionate. It says, "That's the truth, and I take care of myself enough to make something of it." You treat the truth like a wise teacher, not like a punishment. The most important aspect of self-truth is the realization that you are not alone. Everyone has their flaws, regrets, failures, and moments they wish they could undo. What distinguishes those who grow from those who stagnate is not perfection, it is courage. The courage to face the truth and move forward anyway. The courage to say, "Here I am," and "This is where I want to go." Those who have the courage to face the truth are already halfway there. It is the first step, the foundation, the solid ground for all progress. The truth makes it possible to set new standards for one's own life. Standards of integrity, patience, responsibility, and personal strength. One stops using the past as an excuse. One stops blaming circumstances. One stops waiting for life to change and decides to change oneself. That is the true power of honesty. It is quiet, it is constant, and it is the beginning of becoming who you are meant to be. You don't have to be perfect to be honest with yourself. You don't need the perfect mood, a flawless past, or a perfect plan. You just need a little courage. The courage to look at yourself as you truly are right now. To see the rough, messy, confused, or unfinished parts of yourself and still say, "I will continue to develop from here." This path is not easy, but it is the only one that leads to freedom, maturity, and true happiness. A happiness that doesn't disappear even in difficult times. Start today. Even a small beginning is enough. Take time to listen to your inner voice, not to the loud, restless noise of society or the judgments of others. Ask yourself the questions that feel uncomfortable. Don't run from the truth, don't look away. The truth may feel painful at first, but it never comes to destroy you. It comes to make you stronger. And when you face it, you discover a quiet, constant strength within you. A strength that storms cannot break. A strength that grows each time you choose honesty over avoidance. Life doesn't reward those who run from the truth. It rewards those who face it and use it as the driving force for their growth. Even if the truth tastes bitter, it is the light that shows the way. Not to an easy path, but to a meaningful one. Stagnation is not the end. It is often the first sign of awakening. Admitting that you have stopped growing or are not progressing as you had hoped is not failure. It is honesty. And honesty is the door through which all change passes. What you refuse to see, you cannot change. No one can move forward if they don't recognize their dead ends. Admitting stagnation is not a weakness, it's a courageous act. It's the beginning of profound, lasting change. The moment you realize you're spinning your wheels, you open your eyes to reality. Stagnation can manifest in many ways. You might feel lost and confused, forget your goals, repeat the same empty habits, or simply lack the energy for anything new. However it appears, it's a message, a subtle signal urging you to pause, reflect, and reconnect with yourself. If you deny that you're stuck or pretend everything is fine, you're only hiding in a comfortable illusion, an illusion that makes you believe you're moving forward when, in reality, you're standing still. Stagnation can be frightening. It can make you feel small, insecure, and alienated from yourself. But it also gives you space to reflect. It allows you to take a step back and see the bigger picture. This stillness acts like a wall you keep running into, a wall that wakes you up and whispers, "This cannot continue. It is time for change." Once this truth has been accepted, the reconstruction can begin. Not everyone dares to admit they're stuck. Some hide behind excuses or distracting routines. They fear appearing weak, fear judgment, fear taking responsibility for their failures. But this fear only prolongs stagnation and widens the gap between you and your true self. Only by facing the truth can you break this vicious cycle. Admitting stagnation doesn't mean seeing yourself as a failure. Rather, it means saying, "I see where I stand and I'm ready to take responsibility." That's an important step forward. It demonstrates maturity, the difference between someone who evolves and someone who remains emotionally young. A mature person takes responsibility, not blame or avoidance. If you recognize stagnation, you don't need to attack yourself. Instead, see this moment as an invitation, an opportunity to explore your limitations, fears, or habits that are holding you back. Ask yourself honest questions. What's holding me back? What needs to change? What can I do now to make even the smallest progress? These questions will help you to stop letting life control you and instead take control of your own actions. Awakening doesn't happen through giant leaps. It happens through the simple act of acknowledgement. I paused and now I decide to move. It arises from small but consistent actions, resting when needed, rediscovering your own sources of inspiration, rethinking habits, or finally having an honest conversation with yourself. Each of these steps strengthens your energy and power. Awakening also means having patience with yourself. You can't change your life overnight. You can't force your heart to beat faster through self-recrimination. Stagnation is a natural part of growth, a pause, a time of stillness, a moment to gather strength before getting up again. Forgiveness and patience soften the harsh voice within you and allow your motivation to return without pressure or self-punishment. When you acknowledge your stagnation honestly and lovingly, you create a safe inner space where real change can flourish. A space where fear transforms into clarity, silence into preparation, and honesty into the beginning of a stronger version of yourself. The right environment acts like fertile, healthy soil in which strong plants thrive. When your surroundings support you, new ideas flow more easily, and your mind feels lighter and more alert. From this space, you draw new inspiration and inner strength. Instead of feeling stuck or confused, you feel the power to move forward. In truth, the realization that you have stopped growing is already an important step. A Stoic might say it's the moment you stop lying to yourself and begin to see things as they truly are. This honest moment marks the beginning of a profound and lasting transformation. It's the point at which doubt and fear cease to control you. From this point on, you begin to regain your self-confidence, reignite your motivation, and set goals that truly matter. Acknowledging reality isn't always pleasant, but it's essential if you want to become wiser and stronger. Letting go of false beliefs isn't a step backward, but a step toward maturity, toward a life of clarity instead of confusion. Illusions are like a thin fog that obscures the world before you. They make you wander in circles, chasing hopes that have no firm ground. When you cling to the unrealistic, you become entangled in a world that feels safe but isn't true. In this world, dreams trump facts and desires replace genuine effort. Only when you have the courage to let go of these illusions can you honestly face reality and act with real impact. Many people cling to illusions because they feel warm and safe, like a bed that keeps you at rest. Illusions protect us from disappointment, from judgment, and from facing our own weaknesses. They let us pretend that everything will sort itself out if we just keep imagining it long enough. But the Stoics remind us that nothing changes until we take responsibility and face reality. Freeing oneself from illusions means accepting the world as it truly is, even when it feels harsh or unpleasant. It means accepting that one is still learning, that one sometimes fails, that one still needs to develop in certain areas, or that progress takes time. Instead of looking away, one faces these facts. One considers them calmly and uses them as a starting point. This does not diminish one's own worth. It strengthens awareness, courage, and self-control. When you live in illusions, your thoughts revolve around things you can't control, like the past or unattainable expectations for the future. You might spend too much time regretting, complaining, or imagining perfect scenarios instead of taking action now. As a result, you miss small, practical steps that lead to real progress. But when you let go of illusions, you regain control. You are no longer guided by fear or fantasy. You will become the true pilot of your own life. You will make decisions based on truth, responsibility, and what is within your power. You will understand that you don't have to be perfect to begin. You don't need the perfect moment or the perfect tools. You will work with what you have where you are, following the Stoic motto, use the present moment wisely. Freeing oneself from illusions also relieves the mind of intense emotional pressure. Those who live in fantasy worlds are constantly at odds with reality. This inner conflict causes stress, tension, and feelings of failure. But when one accepts reality, these inner tensions dissolve. One stops fighting against what is they begin to cooperate with themselves and proceed step by step. Reality isn't always gentle. It demands that you respect your limits, learn from mistakes, and persevere patiently. But it is precisely this unwavering adherence to the truth that forms a strong foundation for true success. You become more resilient. You don't let yourself be swept away by emotional storms or sudden events because you know you are on a meaningful path, one that is entirely in your own hands. Freeing oneself from illusions doesn't mean giving up on dreams. On the contrary, it protects them by giving them a solid foundation. A dream connected to reality puts down strong roots and has a much greater chance of becoming reality. You begin to set clear goals, plan concrete steps, and adjust your strategy as needed, all based on truth, not wishful thinking. Imagine you're hiking on a rocky path. If you only focus on the distant mountaintop without paying attention to your footing, you'll stumble or get lost. But if you accept that you can't jump straight to the top and instead concentrate on each individual step, you'll move more confidently. You'll progress further and more safely. That's the strength that comes from accepting reality. Living realistically doesn't mean lacking ambition. It doesn't mean abandoning creativity. It means balancing visions with reality, having big dreams while acting wisely. It means understanding that things don't always go as planned, but instead of despairing, remaining calm, adapting, moving forward, growing. This is the Stoic way, to live with open eyes, a steady hand, and a mind focused on the truth. When you stop clinging to illusions, you stop putting pressure on yourself. Instead, you adapt, learn, and move forward with inner peace. You gain clarity because you're no longer fighting against reality. And slowly, you also learn to be kind to yourself. When you stop demanding perfection from yourself, you can finally accept your mistakes and weaknesses without fear. You no longer punish yourself for failures or unfinished business. You treat yourself like a friend who accompanies you, someone you support with patience and respect. Ultimately, letting go of illusions is the key to true freedom. When unrealistic expectations no longer control you, you can live in accordance with your true values and your true nature. You no longer fear what others think. You no longer compare yourself to the paths of others. You walk your own path with inner peace and unwavering confidence, and the path to change doesn't have to begin with something dramatic. Grand promises or sudden explosive steps aren't necessary. Real, lasting change usually begins quietly, step by step, step by step. Many people set goals that are too big, too distant, and too difficult to achieve. Then they feel overwhelmed and give up long before progress is possible. But the truth is simple. No one changes their life in a single day or with a single act of willpower. Every profound change comes from a long chain of consistent actions, even small ones. There's no need to wait for the perfect day to begin. You don't have to wait until you feel stronger, richer, smarter, or braver. You can start now with what you already have. Change isn't about size, it's about commitment. It's about consciously choosing to take steps toward growth and persevering, even when progress seems slow. You might think that to change your life, you need to change everything at once. Your habits, your job, your environment, your relationships. But trying to change everything at once usually leads to stress and confusion. You feel overwhelmed. You long for your old habits because they feel familiar, even if they aren't helping you move forward. The Stoics teach us that the best progress is steady, focused progress. Choose one small habit that you can perform well every day. Master that one first. Small successes are more important than you think. A single small success can inspire you, give you energy, and prove to you that you can do it. These initial victories boost your confidence for the next steps. When your mind sees progress, it's even more motivated to continue. Science even confirms it. These small successes help your brain release dopamine, the neurotransmitter that promotes motivation and joy. Instead of forcing yourself to do an hour of exercise every day, especially if you're not used to physical activity, you can start with a simple 10-minute walk. Once your body and mind have adjusted, you can gradually increase the time or intensity. This way, you avoid overexertion and develop a habit you can maintain for a lifetime. Starting small fosters patience and discipline. Making yourself a small promise each day strengthens your capacity for consistency. You learn to rely on yourself. Over time, your discipline transforms into inner discipline, consistent and reliable, regardless of moods or external pressures. This forms the foundation for real, lasting change. You no longer allow yourself to be controlled by your emotions or external circumstances. Even small changes contribute to balance. You don't have to sacrifice everything to grow. You can change while protecting the important areas of your life: relationships, relaxation, and inner peace. This balance prevents burnout and helps you stay motivated in the long run. And remember, you don't have to be perfect at every step. Change is never linear. It's more like a spiral. Sometimes you move forward, sometimes sideways, sometimes backward. The important thing is that you always find your way back to the right path. Starting small takes the pressure off of having to do everything at once. And when you learn to forgive yourself for missing a day or making mistakes, it becomes much easier to keep going. Many fail not because of a lack of skill, but because of a lack of patience. They expect too much too quickly. When success eludes them, they become discouraged and give up. But those who start small realize that change doesn't have to be fast or perfect. It just has to begin and continue. Starting small also teaches you how precious the present moment is. Instead of worrying about the future or regretting the past, you focus on what you can do right now. This mindfulness brings calm and improves your concentration. And with better concentration, progress becomes natural and steady. Ultimately, taking small steps allows you to enjoy the journey. When you're not under pressure to achieve something big, you can appreciate every small improvement. Every little step becomes a reward. You remain connected to your efforts instead of being trapped by expectations. Changing your mindset isn't a one-time event. It's a daily process, a continuous evolution of how you think, feel, and react to life. It means consistently choosing resilience and clear judgment. The world out there may be unpredictable, but daily consistency, this quiet, patient effort, is the force that truly transforms you. It's not about taking grand steps or doing something dramatic. It's about repeating small habits daily, choosing small but meaningful actions that gradually build a strong and stable mind. By remaining consistent, you won't be thrown off course by short-term emotions, sudden setbacks, or thoughtless criticism. You begin to develop a steadfast version of yourself, a self that doesn't waver every time life gets tough. With this strength, you can act decisively, make thoughtful decisions, and plan wisely for the future. A Stoic sees each day as an opportunity to practice stability, to use every moment as training for inner peace. Every day offers you the chance to become more patient and serene. In stressful moments, Instead of panicking or running away, you learn to breathe calmly, maintain your center, and face the challenge. Gradually, you develop the habit of approaching problems with serenity. You no longer react out of fear, but with wisdom. Difficulties no longer appear as enemies. They become teachers that guide you to inner strength. Consistency also helps you keep your goal clearly in mind. On any path of change or growth, you will experience days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or would rather give up. Such moments are normal. A Stoic understands that feelings come and go like passing clouds. When you have strengthened your mindset through consistency, you no longer let these clouds hold you back. You recognize them, accept them, and move on. You remain focused on your goal even when your emotions try to pull you away. One learns to persevere and move forward by trusting one's own path and believing in the goal. A crucial component of perseverance is emotional self-control. When one manages one's emotions instead of being controlled by them, one's actions remain aligned with one's values, not one's mood. One remembers that emotions are fleeting, but decisions based on reason and character create lasting success. Cultivating emotional control is not easy, but it is essential for a strong Stoic mindset. Consistency also arises from forgiveness and compassion towards yourself. You cannot restore your mindset if you constantly blame and attack yourself or carry the burden of past mistakes. Instead, you learn to view your weaknesses honestly and kindly. You see past errors not as a cause for shame, but as lessons that have helped you grow. Forgiving yourself is the first step to unlocking your inner energy and allowing renewal and determination back into your life. Your environment and the people around you also play a crucial role. To change your mindset, you need to create a space that fosters your growth. Surround yourself with people who inspire and encourage you and remind you of your strength when you forget it. Honest support, calm conversations, and simply good company can give you the strength to get through difficult times. At the same time, you'll learn to distance yourself from negative influences, from people or habits that drain your energy and distract you from your path. Strengthening your mindset through daily consistency also means developing habits that benefit both body and mind. Simple routines like meditation, stretching, exercise, sufficient sleep, and a healthy diet provide the necessary energy for inner peace. A calm mind thrives more easily in a healthy body. By caring for yourself in these fundamental ways, you create a foundation that equips you for challenges rather than overwhelming you. As your mental strength grows, you break free from the cycle of worry, doubt, and distractions. You learn what to focus on, when you need rest and when you need to move forward. Even in a noisy and ever-changing world, you can remain consistent. This clarity increases your productivity, inner peace, and overall quality of life. Consistency gradually fosters perseverance and mental fortitude, two things essential for achieving any meaningful goal. In difficult times, you don't let yourself be defeated. Instead, you maintain patience and inner strength. You understand that good things take time to grow, just as trees need different seasons before they reach their full size. You are developing into someone who is willing to invest this time in yourself, step by step, day by day. Most importantly, reshaping your mindset through consistency isn't just about changing your outward behavior. It's about transforming your way of thinking and your worldview. When you remain consistent, not only do your actions change, but so does your identity. You gain inner strength, self-confidence, and a greater awareness of your ability to shape your own life. Challenges will still arise, but you will now face them with composure and determination. Start with the smallest things. That's the Stoic method. Step by step, you develop a mind that remains steadfast in every situation. Cultivate one positive habit each day. It doesn't have to be anything grand or impressive, just something small you commit to. A Stoic keeps these promises, even when life gets tough, even when the mind is exhausted, even when obstacles suddenly appear. By keeping these daily commitments, you gradually strengthen your mind. Step by step, you rebuild your way of thinking and develop an inner strength that is not easily shaken. This quiet perseverance becomes the foundation that leads you to lasting success, enduring happiness, and inner peace. Regret is like an invisible chain that wraps around your soul. It constantly pulls you back, away from the future you desire. When you spend your days dwelling on past mistakes, missed opportunities, or failures, you not only harm yourself, but also lose sight of the bright possibilities that lie ahead. Regret can't fix anything. It doesn't heal, guide, or solve problems. It only burdens your mind, drains your energy, and prevents you from moving forward. No one on earth is perfect. Everyone has made wrong decisions, said words they regret, or missed moments that could have changed their life. That's part of being human. What matters is not that mistakes happen, but how you deal with them. A mature person, someone with stoic composure, doesn't dwell on regret. They don't see mistakes as punishment, but as lessons, sometimes painful, but always useful. Instead of letting regret paralyze them, they use it as a springboard, as something that propels them forward rather than holding them back. Regret can manifest as sadness, anger, disappointment, or intense self-recrimination. These feelings slowly drain your energy. They distract you and prevent you from perceiving the positive things in the here and now. When regret dominates your thoughts, you lose the ability to recognize new opportunities, grow, or make better decisions. You remain stuck in a story that's already over and can't enjoy the chapter you're currently in. The first step to freeing yourself from regret is to remember a simple truth. The past cannot be changed. No matter how deeply you reflect on it, no matter how much you long for the past, it remains the past. Time does not reopen its gates. Only the present and the future belong to you. Here, your decisions still matter. Once this truth has sunk into your heart, the shackles of regret will begin to loosen. Letting go doesn't mean pretending the past never happened. It doesn't mean ignoring mistakes or erasing memories. Rather, it's a deep and honest acceptance that everything that has happened has become part of your story. You take the lessons learned with you, like a traveler taking only the essentials, but you don't let the past control you. This is how you live more responsibly and meaningfully. Clinging to regret puts you in a painful, self-reinforcing cycle. The more you focus on negative moments from the past, the weaker you feel today. These feelings build up and undermine your self-confidence. They whisper lies to you, claiming you are incapable or not strong enough to change. That's why you must break this cycle by changing your reaction to the past. A Stoic learns to face reality as it is, not as they wish it were. One of the most effective ways to let go of regret is forgiveness, forgiving yourself and others. When you forgive, you free your heart from a heavy burden. You release yourself from the weight of old feelings and create space for inner peace. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what happened was okay. It means accepting that the past cannot be changed, but you can change your reactions in the present. You choose peace instead of punishment. You choose freedom instead of chains. Living in the here and now is another key to freeing yourself from regret. When your attention rests in the present moment, on your breath, on your steps, you release yourself from the burden of the past. You understand that only the actions you take today truly matter. Living in the present strengthens your self-control and helps you face challenges with greater serenity. You also need to redefine your goals and develop clear plans for the future. When you know where you want to go, your thoughts no longer revolve around what you cannot change. Goals act like a compass, plans like a map. They guide your steps and help you focus on creating value instead of dwelling on the past. A shift in perspective on regret is a powerful way to regain inner strength. Instead of seeing regret as punishment, consider it part of your learning process. View it as an event that has taught you wisdom for the future. When you internalize this idea, you'll realize that thanks to all the insights gained, you can move forward with greater confidence. Don't forget this truth. Every new day is a chance for a fresh start. You can make better decisions, think more clearly, and act more compassionately. Don't let regret build walls around your life. Don't let old memories overshadow today. Let go of the past so you can move forward with peace, confidence, and hope. The past cannot be changed. Even the greatest Stoic thinkers accepted this fact. You cannot undo what has happened, but you can shape the future. And how you live this moment determines the quality of the days to come. When you understand this, regret loses its power. You no longer wallow in old sorrow, but focus your energy on the present, the only place where your actions truly matter. This is how you free yourself. This is how you become stronger. This is how you rebuild your life with Stoic serenity. The past, whether sweet or bitter, beautiful or painful, is history. It is a memory, not a place to linger forever, and not a foundation upon which to build one's life. Trying to fix the past is like trying to hold smoke in your hands. It wastes time, energy, and inner peace. Instead of fostering growth, it slows you down and shifts your focus away from shaping the present and building the future. Letting go of the need to fix the past is not a sign of weakness. It is the wisest and most mature step one can take. A Stoic is aware of the limitations of their energy and chooses it wisely. By focusing on the present, one conserves their strength and uses it for what truly matters. When one is mindful in the here and now, one gains the power to influence one's life, make better decisions, and set the course for the future. In the here and now, you can take action. Here you can make wise decisions, develop helpful habits, and live in accordance with your values. Here you can learn from the past without wallowing in regret. You cannot change what happened, but you can change your understanding of it and your reaction to it. You can learn to accept your past with gentleness and without judgment, transforming mistakes into lessons rather than shackles. When your perspective shifts, you create space in your heart for forgiveness, growth, and maturity. Focusing on the present also protects against anxieties about the future. The future doesn't yet exist. It's undefined and uncertain. Worrying about it only drains your energy. But the present, this breath, this moment, is real. This is where your strength lies. When you give your full attention to what's directly in front of you, you work more clearly, responsibly, and creatively. Living in the here and now doesn't mean ignoring the future. On the contrary, focusing on the present is the surest way to achieve your goals. Taking care of the small steps today, no matter how simple they may be, builds a strong foundation for the successes you desire tomorrow. Every action you take now contributes to the life you create. An effective way to live in the present moment is to develop healthy habits. Good habits reduce rumination, promote consistency, and make positive behaviors second nature. When helpful routines become part of your daily life, you don't have to constantly fight your motivation. Your habits carry you forward even on difficult days, like an internal support system that you have built with patience and discipline. Mindfulness helps you stay in the here and now. It means consciously perceiving what you're doing, feeling, or thinking. It's not just a stress reduction technique, but also a way to connect more deeply with yourself and the world around you. When you fully experience the present moment, your thoughts no longer revolve around the past or the future. Your work improves, your relationships become stronger, and your life gains meaning. Of course, it's not always easy to be in the here and now. Sometimes we fall back into old habits, dwelling on past mistakes or worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. That's normal. The important thing is not to let these thoughts control you. Learn to acknowledge them, and then gently let them go. Just as a Stoic lets go of emotions that no longer serve them. Patience and self-compassion are also important. Growth takes time. You will make mistakes and have to try several times. But if you keep your attention focused on the present, remain consistent and proceed step by step, the results will come. True progress doesn't come from a single giant leap, but from many small, steady actions repeated over a longer period. Never forget, you alone decide how you live. The past doesn't define who you are. What defines you is what you do today. You can get caught up in regret or consciously and responsibly walk your path. You can remain in the shadows of the past or stand in the light of the present moment. Pain is not something to be feared or avoided. For a Stoic, pain is a resource, a raw material that can be transformed into strength. Every wound, every disappointment, whether deep or small, holds a lesson. When you learn to use these lessons, pain becomes fuel for personal growth instead of a burden. Pain is omnipresent. Everyone experiences it at some point, through loss, failure, emotional distress, physical suffering, or everyday challenges. But not everyone learns to face pain bravely or to use it as a tool. The Stoic path teaches that pain can shape us, sharpen our skills, and prepare us for the next chapter, if we allow it. And this is how one rises, by letting go of the past, anchoring oneself in the present, and using every experience, whether good or painful, to develop a stronger, wiser, and more resilient self. Many people react to pain by fleeing from it, denying it, or wallowing in it. Instead of helping, these reactions intensify the pain until it seems like an insurmountable wall. A Stoic does the opposite. They pause, take a deep breath, and look directly at the pain. They are grateful for the lesson it contains, even if it is difficult to accept. Acknowledging pain is the first step toward gaining control, rather than being controlled by it. Avoiding or denying pain only prolongs it. It's like hiding a wound that needs cleaning. Ignoring it makes it worse, more painful, and slows its healing. But when you dare to face the wound, understand it, and tend to it, healing can begin. True strength is not the absence of pain. True strength is the ability to get back up and keep going, even when it hurts. Transforming pain into something useful is a process of growing up. Every painful experience holds a lesson, but you have to listen closely to recognize it. Pain teaches us our limits, how much we can endure when we should set boundaries, and how to treat ourselves with respect. Through these lessons, we not only become stronger internally, but we can also inspire others with our story of resilience. Pain also opens your heart. When you have suffered and transformed that suffering into wisdom, you naturally become kinder and more patient with others. You realize that everyone is fighting their own invisible battles. This understanding makes you a compassionate person, someone who lifts others up instead of judging them. Overcoming pain is neither quick nor easy. It requires patience, persistent empathy, and sometimes the support of trusted individuals, friends, family, or even professionals who can accompany you. There is no fast track to healing, but there are resources that can make this journey safer and more meaningful. Seeking help is not a weakness. It demonstrates maturity, responsibility, and self-worth. A crucial part of change is forgiveness, both forgiving others and forgiving yourself. Forgiveness doesn't erase the pain or pretend the wrong never happened. Rather, it frees you from the vicious cycle of anger and bitterness. Forgiveness is the path to regaining control over your inner self and finding peace again. When you transform pain into strength, you develop resilience and self-confidence. You realize that while life may test you, you possess the ability to persevere. This inner strength becomes a shield you carry into the future. No storm can easily break someone who has already learned to endure and rise again. Transforming pain is a lifelong process. There is no point at which you will never be hurt again. Rather, every confrontation with pain and its overcoming strengthens your emotional armor. This armor protects you, not by making you hard or cold, but by allowing you to become wise, resilient, and clear-headed. Through this process, you learn to lead a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Pain isn't just something to be avoided. It's one of life's most important teachers if you learn to listen to it. Every wound, every disappointment, every failure holds a message for your growth. Pain exposes your weaknesses, shows you what needs healing, and reveals what truly matters in life. To discover these lessons, you must face the pain instead of running from it. Pain is a signal that something within you needs attention. When you feel sadness or frustration, don't try to suppress that feeling immediately. Take time to accept it, understand it, and learn from it. This is how you open the door to true self-knowledge. Pain teaches patience. Life isn't meant to be perfect or easy. Real change takes time. By listening to the pain, you learn that growth is slow but steady. You learn to keep moving forward, step by step, even when progress seems small. This patience will become one of your greatest strengths. Pain teaches humility. Through mistakes and failures, we realize that no one is invulnerable or without flaws. Pain reminds us that all people need help, support, and understanding. This humility helps us build deeper and more meaningful relationships. Pain teaches self-respect and self-love. Sometimes pain arises from our own choices. By facing it, you learn to take better care of yourself. You learn to stop blaming yourself and instead encourage yourself. You create a healthier inner environment. Pain teaches courage. To face pain, you must be braver than before. Courage doesn't mean not feeling fear, it means acting despite the fear. When you look pain in the eye, you break down old mental walls and open new paths for your growth. This courage becomes a quiet, powerful strength within you. Ultimately, pain helps us appreciate what truly matters. When life gets tough, the simple things, health, security, loved ones, peace, gain in value. Pain brings us back to the here and now and reminds us to live authentically instead of chasing fleeting things. Pain is not the enemy. When understood and transformed, it becomes your teacher, your guide, and one of the most powerful tools you will carry with you on your life's journey. Pain isn't just something that hurts, it's a quiet opportunity to pause, reflect on your life, and choose a better direction. If you allow pain to guide you, like a serene Stoic who analyzes things instead of running away, you'll discover what truly matters to you. You'll recognize your true goals, your real passions, and the values that are deeply rooted in your heart. Pain becomes a mirror that helps you understand who you are, what you want, and what you never want to return to. From this realization, you can begin to create a life that aligns with your true self, not just the world's expectations. To use pain in this wise Stoic way requires mindfulness and strength. You must consciously choose time and again not to be crushed by the pain, but to be lifted by it. You must learn to observe your feelings honestly, to recognize what they are trying to tell you, and to respond with calm instead of panic. By practicing this, you gain control over your mind instead of being ruled by fear or sadness. This prevents you from sinking into endless negative thought spirals that drag you down. Sharing your pain with trusted people is also part of this learning process. Opening up is not a sign of weakness. It helps you see your situation more clearly. When someone listens attentively, the burden becomes lighter. You gain new ideas, new strength, and sometimes even solutions you couldn't see on your own. Sharing broadens your horizons and helps you grow beyond your perceived limitations. And never forget, pain is a teacher who never goes away. You decide how you learn from it. When you learn to listen, accept the lessons and apply them, pain becomes an inner source of strength. It helps you face life's storms fearlessly and evolve in a profound and meaningful way. This transformation doesn't happen in a day or even a month, but it marks the moment you begin to become the strongest and most honest version of yourself. Resistance in the mind is not a sign that something is wrong. Rather, it is a sign of growth. If you experience stress, discomfort, or a storm of thoughts during a period of change, your mind is reacting. It is your old self, your subconscious, trying to protect you by clinging to familiar habits. From a Stoic perspective, this resistance is a message. You are leaving your comfort zone. This means you are moving towards becoming a better version of yourself. The human mind thrives on security and routine. So when you try to improve your habits, thinking, or lifestyle, your subconscious often resists. This can manifest as fatigue, procrastination, anxiety, or self-doubt. Understanding this helps you stay calm instead of getting discouraged. Resistance means you're approaching real change. If everything felt easy, it would mean you weren't making any effort at all. The path of development is not smooth, but bumpy. It is shaped by challenges that push you to grow beyond your perceived limits. When your mind resists, your strength is tested and forged. Overcoming resistance requires patience and perseverance. Instead of giving up when things get difficult, view resistance as a natural part of your growth. A helpful method for reducing resistance is to build small, consistent habits. Small steps each day signal to your subconscious that this new path is safe. Over time, the subconscious relinquishes its resistance and it fades away. This is true sustainable change, not through giant leaps but through simple daily actions. Another powerful tool is positive self-talk. Speaking honestly and kindly to yourself can change your inner attitude. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "I'm afraid of failing" with "Every mistake teaches me something valuable." These gentle yet powerful words calm your mind and reduce resistance. Resistance also teaches you more about yourself. By observing your negative thoughts instead of giving in to them, you gain insight into your hidden fears and old beliefs. Clearly recognizing these allows you to free yourself from them and strengthen your abilities and self-confidence. In this way, you reshape your mindset and create a solid foundation for future growth. And you don't have to face adversity alone. Support from family, friends, or even people who are on a similar path can give you courage when your strength is waning. Sharing experiences with others makes you feel understood and supported, and gives you renewed strength. Resistance always arises when change begins, and change always brings a little fear with it. But it is precisely in these difficulties that your true strength lies. Here you discover what you can overcome and what kind of life you can build. Consider resistance a stern but honest teacher, one who pushes you to become stronger and wiser. Finding your own rhythm and remaining persistent and calm is the key to lasting success. In a world full of noise, hectic activity, and pressure, Your inner peace becomes your anchor. It protects you from being swept away by trends or the expectations of others. Your personal rhythm is a peaceful harmony between your inner world and the path you choose. It is where you recognize what you need, what is important to you, and how to move forward with steady, patient strength. Everyone has their own rhythm, a steady pace at which body and mind feel in harmony with the world around them. Once you recognize this rhythm, you stop comparing yourself to others. You no longer chase after societal deadlines or force yourself to fit someone else's schedule. Instead, you learn when to move quickly and when to slow down, when to work hard and when to rest, when to strive for great goals and when to savor small, quiet moments. This is how the Stoics lived. Not in haste, not in frenzy, but in harmony with themselves. Those who know their own rhythm possess sustainable energy. Quiet perseverance doesn't mean hiding from life or being inactive. It means focusing on true value instead of boasting. It means preferring consistency to noise, progress to praise. Those who work quietly and steadily achieve more lasting results. Their actions speak louder than anything they could proclaim, and their successes become clear proof of their strength, skill, and discipline. On the path to finding your own rhythm, you must learn to listen to yourself, not to the loud opinions of the outside world, but to your inner voice, your thoughts, your feelings, your needs. When you listen consciously, you know exactly when to forge ahead with energy, when to rest and recharge, and when a new path is better for you. This ability to listen is the key to your unique rhythm. Perseverance requires patience. Results don't come instantly, and you don't need to seek attention to prove your worth. Instead, you build something step by step, even on days when you're tired, bored, or discouraged. These small steps create momentum and help you confidently pursue your goals and dreams. Perseverance protects your mind from arrogance, calm, and wisdom. Without being swept away by praise or crushed by criticism, you can focus on what truly matters, genuine growth. Living in harmony with your own rhythm protects both mental and physical health. It prevents burnout, pressure, and unnecessary stress. You learn to balance effort and recovery, giving and receiving, contribution and self-care. Health is the foundation for all lasting success, and living in harmony with your own rhythm strengthens this foundation. Quiet action builds true self-confidence. When you no longer depend on compliments or applause, you realize that your own worth lies in your own effort and commitment. You are neither unsettled by hurtful words nor blinded by false flattery. You remain grounded, steadfast, and respectful of yourself. Calm persistence also trains your concentration. In today's world, distraction is the greatest enemy. By staying in your own rhythm, you can block out distractions and dedicate your energy to what truly matters. This ability to concentrate will become a decisive advantage in everything you do. To maintain your rhythm, you need to set clear boundaries. Knowing how to say no is a form of wisdom. Boundaries protect your energy, your time, and your heart from harmful influences. They remind you that not every opportunity is meant for you, and that's perfectly okay. Ultimately, finding your own rhythm and practicing quiet perseverance leads to true freedom. Freedom doesn't mean being able to do whatever you want at any time. It means shaping your life with clear mindfulness and self-control. When you stay true to your rhythm, you're no longer swept away by trends or external pressures. You begin to experience peace, confidence, and meaning every day. The ability to persevere is one of the strongest qualities one can develop. It's not just about toughness. It's a combination of patience, determination, self-control, and a deep understanding of one's own purpose in life. People who don't give up keep going, even when others stop. They don't fear challenges. They anticipate them and face them bravely. From the outset, one must understand that obstacles, setbacks, and failures are part of any worthwhile journey. No one achieves success without persevering through difficult times. Those who don't give up prematurely don't see failures as dead ends, but as lessons. They use mistakes to grow, not to wither. They don't let failures steal their faith. They use them as motivation for improvement. Perseverance is founded on clarity. When you know exactly what you want and why, you have the strength to resist discouragement, boredom, or fear. Your goal becomes a lighthouse, shining in the distance and guiding you even in the darkest hours. This clear goal gives you steadfastness, focus, and determination, no matter how arduous the path may be. Understanding the deeper meaning of your goal helps you realize that today's difficulties are not insurmountable obstacles. They are temporary challenges. They are moments that test your strength, not the end of your journey. Those who don't give up early know this. They understand that the path to any meaningful goal will be winding. That's why they remain flexible. They don't rigidly cling to a plan. Instead, they observe, adapt, learn, and change direction when necessary. This adaptability is a sign of true maturity. It demonstrates wisdom, for it reveals that success doesn't come from trying to force everything. Rather, success arises from adapting to reality, tailoring one's actions accordingly, and finding the best path in every situation. This is a profoundly Stoic approach, not to complain about what one cannot control, but to act calmly and wisely in what one can control. Another important aspect of not giving up prematurely is taking full responsibility for your own life. When you accept responsibility for your decisions, your actions, and their consequences, you stop blaming others or external circumstances. Instead of looking for excuses, you look for solutions. This sense of responsibility creates a strong inner foundation. It helps you overcome difficulties without collapsing and gives you the confidence to persevere and keep going. Those who persevere also know that sustained perseverance requires nurturing. They understand that body and mind need equal care. Healthy habits, good sleep, a balanced diet, and moments of mental relaxation are not luxuries. They are fuel. Taking care of oneself maintains motivation. The mind remains clear, and decisions become more precise. This is what makes long-term perseverance possible. The support of others is essential. No one conquers life's mountains alone. Those who don't give up know how to build strong, positive relationships. They seek out people who encourage, inspire, and support them. These companions help them get back on their feet when they are tired or doubtful. They remind them of their goal when they lose sight of it. At the same time, someone who doesn't give up avoids negative influences, voices that discourage them, distract them, or weaken their resolve. Managing emotions is another important skill. Fear, doubt, sadness, or frustration often arise during difficult times. Those who persevere don't ignore these feelings, but neither do they allow them to control them. They understand that emotions are temporary. They come and go. By calmly observing these emotions like a Stoic, they can act wisely instead of reacting impulsively. This emotional discipline strengthens their long-term resolve. Perseverance isn't a skill acquired overnight. It's a skill honed daily. Those who don't give up easily develop simple habits and clear principles that they follow every day. They know that every step, no matter how small, counts. Even if today's progress is minimal, it brings them closer to their goal. Step by step, day by day, these small efforts grow into remarkable achievements. They focus on the process and trust that the results will come in due time. Becoming a person who doesn't give up is a decision you make again and again. Every day you can choose to move forward or to stand still. Every day you can choose courage or complacency. This decision isn't always easy, but it's precisely this daily choice that builds true strength. True success isn't measured by speed, but by consistency, by the quiet courage to keep going even when things get tough. In today's world, quick results are often lauded. Overnight successes are celebrated, even though they rarely tell the whole story. But true, lasting success doesn't come from sudden bursts of energy. It grows through daily practice, consistent effort, and building habits that support your long-term goals. Consistency, not speed, is the real key. Many people feel pressured by the rapid pace of society. They compare themselves to others who seem to achieve success quickly. They feel left behind or not good enough. But if you look more closely at the career paths of truly successful people, something important becomes clear. They all went through long periods of struggle, mistakes, slow progress, and rebuilding. They weren't the fastest. They were the most persistent. They are the ones who kept going when others gave up. Consistency creates an inner strength that is hard to break. If you do something helpful every day, even if it seems small, you build a chain of small successes. Each small success builds on the next, strengthening you and your self-confidence. It's like building a house brick by brick. You can't simply replace a brick with a faster or bigger one just because you want the house to grow faster. Every single brick, no matter how small, even the seemingly insignificant ones, contributes to a strong, stable structure that can withstand even storms. The Stoics would say that every small action is an opportunity to practice virtue, patience, and courage. One of the greatest advantages of consistency is its ability to weather difficult times. Sometimes you wake up tired, sad, or full of doubt. You might feel overwhelmed by everything. But those who have the habit of being present each day don't collapse when such feelings arise. Consistent actions become a rope to hold on to in the darkness. They help you get back on your feet instead of being discouraged by fleeting emotions. Daily effort becomes a silent stream of energy that keeps flowing, even when life throws obstacles in your path. Consistency also helps you develop positive habits, small actions that become automatic and easy to maintain. When a good habit becomes part of your day, you no longer have to think about it or force yourself. It becomes completely natural, like brushing your teeth or drinking water. These daily habits are like a small stream that slowly grows into a mighty waterfall. Instead of waiting for motivation to magically appear, you learn to rely on structure and routine, exactly what Stoic thinkers teach. Do what needs to be done, not just what you feel like doing. When something becomes a habit, you stop agonizing over whether or not to do it. You waste less time brooding and can instead use your energy for growth, learning, and self-improvement. You no longer just live in your thoughts, but actively shape your life. Another important aspect of consistency is the opportunity to learn and improve every day. By repeatedly performing a task, you recognize your strengths and weaknesses. This allows you to make adjustments and continuously improve. Repetition not only fosters skills, but also creativity. You discover new solutions, new perspectives, and new ideas. Those who remain consistent know that the path is never perfect, but steady improvement brings them closer to their goals day by day. This reflects the Stoic idea that excellence is achieved through daily practice, not sudden bursts of effort. Consistency builds trust, both in oneself and in others. When you keep your promises and reliably complete tasks, even small ones, people recognize your reliability. They know you mean business, and more importantly, trusting yourself. You begin to believe in your ability to persevere. This trust becomes a powerful tool that opens doors to better relationships, new opportunities, and deeper self-confidence. Another benefit of consistency is the reduction of unnecessary stress. Striving for big results too quickly creates pressure that drains you. You become frustrated when things don't work out immediately. Conversely, focusing on consistency means accepting that growth takes time. You learn to appreciate small steps forward instead of demanding giant leaps. This attitude brings inner peace, patience, and emotional balance, qualities that the Stoics considered essential for a good life. To make consistent progress, a simple support system is helpful. Set clear goals. Create a short plan. Document your steps. Adjust your plan as needed. This system will help you stay focused, avoid distractions, and clearly identify the next step. It's also helpful to reward yourself when you reach certain milestones. Small successes remind you that your commitment counts and keep your motivation high. Don't forget, your path isn't a race against others. Everyone has their own starting point, their own challenges, and their own pace. Comparisons with others only lead to confusion and disappointment. The Stoic way teaches you to look inward, to walk your own path with patience, discipline, and quiet determination. Consistency doesn't mean being the fastest. It's about being present, remaining steadfast, and persevering even with slow progress. That's what leads to true, lasting success.